Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Riyasat Hussain, and let me. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Riyasat Hussain, and welcome to today's complimentary webinar hosted by Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research in collaboration with Platform Doctors Foundation. We are delighted to have healthcare professionals, medical graduates, pharmacy students, and life science participants joining us from different backgrounds and career stages. Today's session, titled Beyond Clinical Practice, Exploring Non-Clinical Career Pathways in Clinical Research, is designed to open new perspectives for healthcare graduates who are looking to expand their careers beyond traditional clinical roles. In this webinar, we will explore exciting opportunities in clinical research, pharmacovigilance, CROs, and academic medicine, while also discussing how healthcare professionals can globalize their careers and build successful professional pathways internationally. Our speaker will also share personal experiences, practical guidelines, and valuable insights into career transitions and growth opportunities in the healthcare industry. Additionally, Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research will introduce some specialized professional courses, internship pathways, and exclusive participant benefits available for attendees today. So thank you to them. We encourage everyone to actively participate, take notes, and make the most of the interactive question and answer session moderated by Dr. Kazim at the end of the webinar. So thank you once again for joining us. Let us begin today's insightful session. I would like to pass on the mic to Dr. Kazim Khan. Thank you.
Kazim, you are on mute. Kazim, you are on mute.
Hello. Okay. So first of all, hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. Riyasat. And my name is Dr. Tazim Khan. I am a MD here in Romania, and currently we are hosting this webinar on behalf of Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research. The purpose of this topic today is to explore alternative routes besides the non-clinical pathways. And to begin with this webinar, we will be starting off with Dr. Christina, and she will be taking over the first part of our communication. So Dr. Cristina Floresco Morait, she's an MSc, and she's the CEO of Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research. So please, Dr. Cristina, if you could take over.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I don't know exactly if you managed to join with the link to Zoom. I hope this will be possible for all registrants, because as I have been informed, many of you would like to join this webinar. So I will share my presentation. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So just a couple of words about me. So I am, as a background, senior laboratory physician. I graduated the University of Pharmacy and Medicine in Bucharest, Romania. And I've been working in clinical research for more than 22 years. I also co-founded Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research as a training platform dedicated to education in clinical research, to specialists working in this field, either they are physicians, pharmacists, or other life science graduates. Why considering non-clinical career, and why this topic today? Because there is a broader impact on healthcare innovation. And especially nowadays, when the global industry demands more and more specialists working in this field, this could bring diverse career growth opportunities. And also, as a physician or as pharmacists or as life science graduates, but working in the field of research, you may have an impact on innovation and have access to the patient innovative treatments. But I think it is important for you to understand, because you are students or you are young physicians or pharmacists, so it's important for you to understand actually how do the clinical trials work. We speak about an idea. We speak about an idea of creating a new molecule, a new treatment at the level of pharmaceutical company, at the level of sponsor, how we call this part. So we know that clinical trial market accounting in 2019 more than 1.3 million US dollars, and the estimation for 2027 is to reach about 1.8 million US dollars, with a really significant growth. So this bring pharmaceutical industry on the top leaders of industries, and that's why it's important to understand exactly how the clinical trial works. So we speak about dozens of molecules developed in a clinical research department of a pharmaceutical company. Let's think about Pfizer or BMS or Sanofi or whomever, doesn't matter right now who, but a big pharmaceutical company, or even in research department in smaller or mid-sized biotech companies. So many clinical, preclinical testing, many laboratory testing, many cell cultures, or even animal testing are done to select from these thousands of molecules one or two or several, up to, let's say, maximum 5 or 10, and with them to enter in testing them on human subjects. Also, in the clinical research part, we have several phases. I will not enter in detail, but I have a little bit to tell you what is the difference, because we are focused on different things on each phase. If in the phase 1, we test on 10, 30, something like, several dozens of volunteers or subjects, human subjects. On the last phases of studies, we speak about thousands of patients. So it is an important thing for the patient to get access when entering in a clinical trial to the most innovative molecule for his or her pathology. So on the phase 1, we are focused mainly on the study drug characteristics. How is metabolized? What is the absorption? What is the excretion? And so on and so forth. So even to start finding for the dosage. In phase 2, we speak about longer studies. So we speak about several dozens or even hundreds of patients. And here on the phase 2 studies, the focus is on the efficacy, on the side effect, and on the establish of the dosage and the way of administration. On phase 3, we actually monitor all the adverse events, all the adverse reactions, and the number of patients raise up to thousands of patients. We speak about 1 or maybe more years, 3, 4, 5 years of study duration. And at the end of phase 3, actually, the sponsor, the pharmaceutical company, consider to gather all the data and to submit to authorities like FDA in US, Food and Drug Administration, or European Medicine Agency in Europe. In order to obtain approval. Why is it done like this? Because this domain of clinical research, clinical trials, is extremely well regulated, is extremely well monitored by the authorities. Of course, after the phase 3, we haven't finished the clinical trial. We will enter in phase 4, which is called post-marketing study, where the focus is on safety, efficacy, to see how the new drug, the new treatment, is prescribed by the physicians to their patient in the general population. So we move from clinical trials patient to general population suffering of a certain pathology. Final data analysis, actually, when the study is finished, the data is collected, the data is cleaned, and data is submitted to the biostatistics, because a biostatistic analysis is mandatory to see if all the data has a significance from statistical point of view and can be released the new drug for the general population. So actually, to understand the landscape, you have to know a little bit about the clinical trial actors, because clinical research is a collaborative ecosystem where all players, sponsor, pharmaceutical companies, companies like clinical research organization, which monitor every aspect on sponsors' behalf of the clinical trial, investigators, these are doctors who has eligible patient population, ethics committee, regulatory authorities, patient or patient advocacy groups work together in order to ensure the participation in safe conditions of the patient and to provide reliable evidence. So moving further, actually, if it is to explain each of the clinical trial actors, first we have to acknowledge by ICH GCP, this is a good clinical practice guideline. We have to understand what a clinical trial means. So by the GCP definition, by these guidelines, a clinical trial is any investigation in human subjects intended to discover and verify clinical, pharmacological, pharmacodynamics effect of an investigational products of a new therapy, to identify adverse events, to study the drug, as I said, absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion of the new treatment, of the new study drug, with the objective of determining the safety and efficacy. So why does it matter? Because we put the patients in the middle of our activity. We are much, we are interested to offer and to assure the safety for the patient participating in a clinical trials. We are also interested to generate scientific evidence for any new IMP, investigational product. And this supports innovative therapy, actually. So shortly, what each clinical trial means or does, sponsor, funds, and oversee the entire trial, is the owner of the new drug, of the new therapy. The CRO, clinical research organization, works on behalf of the sponsor, because these companies are with doctors or pharmacists who are the monitor, clinical research associates, who actually executes all the delegated trial activities on behalf of the sponsors. Investigator is the doctor who recruit the patient based on the eligibility criteria, inclusion and exclusion criteria written in the study protocol. Ethics committee assure and protects participants' right and welfare. National drug agencies at the level of each country, so competent authority or regulatory authority, reviews and authorize the trials. And of course, at site level, we speak about study nurse, study coordinator, so they support the patient visits and study procedures. And I have to tell you that besides going further to understand what are the clinical career pathways for you, I would like to tell you that there is a difference you need to understand between clinical care and clinical research. If, as a doctor, for instance, in clinical care, you have the freedom, the liberty to decide for your own patients what type of treatment do they need. If I, from one visit to another, as a doctor, I can change the dosage, I can withdraw one drug and replace it with another one. In clinical research, this is not possible, because in clinical research, we are, as I said, in a very regulated domain We work by the study protocol. There is this Bible, let's say, of the trial, and every step outside the study protocol actually means a violation of the study protocol. So you have to stick with what it is written in very much in detail in the protocol. Also, there is an informed consent, ICF, informed consent form, available for every patient, and it's mandatory to be discussed by the doctor with each patient. And of course, the patient has the liberty to say yes or no after he or she understood all the study procedures. So this is the difference between being a clinician with the regular patients or being a clinician but working as an investigator, as a doctor, an investigator in a clinical trial. So non-clinical career opportunities actually describe the roles of being part of this team, either as a clinical research associate, CRA or monitor, or as a clinical trial manager you can be, or as a regulatory affairs specialist, medical writer, because the study protocol is designed by the sponsor and wrote by a medical writer. Pharmacovigilance specialist is another key role. Data manager or biostatistician, study coordinator, or at the site staff, if we will move, let's say, in the hospital where the patients are recruited. So you can play the role of a study coordinator, study nurse, investigator, pharmacist. So explain each role. I will not enter in detail, but just shortly to let you know what each of them do in the ecosystem of a clinical trial. So monitor sites, monitor and ensure the compliance with the good clinical practice. Clinical trial manager leads the study execution. Investigator, so the doctor, as I said, is responsible for each aspect of the trial conduct at the site where he or she works as an investigator. Study coordinator, study nurse coordinates trial activity, visits, logistics, patient contact, data gathered from each and after visit. Also, the QA auditor. So the quality is extremely important and very sensitive part of the running of a clinical study. And there is a saying among us regarding this. So everything which, if something is not documented, it means that actually never happened. So any QA auditor who will come at the site or who will come at the CRO to make an audit will ask for proof, will ask for documents, for proven documents, for every step. Medical writer creates the protocol, writes the protocol, reports, publications, because at the end of each clinical study, the data should be published. Otherwise, it is not efficient and it has been done in vain. Regulatory affairs manages submissions and getting the approval of the study. Clinical trial data ensures data quality and prepare the data for the biostatisticians. Also, there are several skills, and I will let my co-presenter, co-speaker, Teodora, to enter a little bit in detail regarding this, but some skills are needed for being a part of a clinical trial team. You have to have a critical thinking and have the patient-centered thinking all the time, because the patient is in the middle of our activity. Scientific knowledge, strong scientific knowledge, ethics and compliance awareness to be updated with all the regulation and changes in this environment, because the regulation change very fast. To have a mindset of a problem-solving person, because in clinical research, when we have a deadline, actually the deadline is yesterday, not today and not tomorrow. You have to work focused, you have to work against the deadlines, and you have to be aware that at the end of the line, the patient is waiting for you to move. Of course, to be able to work in a team, because it's a teamwork, and to be able to manage everything related to the project. So the opportunities we emphasize, we would like to emphasize for you is that for the personal professional development of yourself, you have to take into account that this is a continuous learning process. You have to be aware that everything should be acknowledged, should be you have to update all the time. You have to do training and retrainings all the time. You have to get certification. So for instance, in ICH GCP is a mandatory training for any person working in a clinical trial. Doesn't matter if we speak about a study nurse or a CT manager. So certificates are extremely important, and they are checked by any auditor coming to your company. Networking is extremely important. Networking with the fellows from your area, because this gives you updates, and this gives you a good connection with what is going on in the clinical research field. Also, participating to conferences and finding a mentor for getting much more knowledge in depth. Where can you work in clinical research? You can work at the sponsor level, so in pharmaceutical companies or biotech companies. You can work as a monitor or CTM in contract research organizations, so in CROs. You can work at the hospital or at the research site in academic research centers, but you can also decide to work in the regulatory part, which is a very important one, because without approval, the study will not start. Or also, you can work as an advocate for the patient in the patient association. So why us? Why Avantyo? Because we have these three pillars of training, conferencing, and of course consultancy. So we have been offered, starting with the 2019, the multiple courses for this niche area, so clinical research. So you can find on our website training things dedicated for monitors, how you could be or how you could become an investigator, a monitor, a study nurse. Also an introductory course for life science graduates, so for students especially. CTIS, this is a new system, information system available in Europe for application of all studies, submitting an application for all studies approval. So pharmacovigilance, study coordinators, phase one designs, coordination, and so on. So during the time, we actually offer possibility to, to gather around one or other subject topics which are extremely interesting for the specialist working in the field of medical field. And we offer these trainings, but also conferences, as I mentioned before. So started with the 2019, the number of participants have grown, and nowadays we can speak about thousands. So we are open to collaborate with at the international level, and this free webinar is a proof that we are willing to share our knowledge. So beside Europe, also with some other parts of the world. And as I said, we gather specialists from all connected areas to International Clinical Trial Symposium. We organize every year in November in Bucharest. So this is an international event with several hundreds of participants on a yearly basis. So we like to say that we bring through our trainings adapted and updated to everything which is like latest information, the most recent and discovered. So we like to say that we bring innovation in education, or at least we are trying to. So today, together with me, for you as a young physician, pharmacist, life science graduates, or students working in the field, in the medical field, I have Teodora Sapzowski-Wicks. She will be speaking about how to build a career. and also the Associate Professor Dr. Codruța Delia Popa. But before going further with their presentation, I would like to conclude that non-clinical research careers offer meaningful impact on healthcare innovation while leveraging clinical expertise. And actually, without this, we cannot move forward and we cannot have access for our patients to the most innovative treatments. I will pass the microphone to Tazim, back to Tazim, because Tazim is part of a clinical research organization and located in Bucharest. And he is a true example of how the things could be developed and how you can enter in this field, moving from the clinical to clinical research. So Tazim, the floor is yours now.
Hello, guys. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Christina. Well, great part on your side. I wanted to start off by saying, as we were mentioning, as Dr. Christina has mentioned about the future prospects and your career development in clinical research, I would like to share my own personal experience based on what I have done in order to understand how this field works and how this field has developed for me, and this is what I want to share with to give you guys an example of. So, for example, I'm gonna be starting on my. Can you guys see my presentation? Yes, I think you guys can see it. So, my journey as a clinical researcher is basically in one very simple way. I would first of all, I'm a medical graduate from Romania. I have my background is right now in clinical research assistant as a country coordinator, and this whole webinar is to create awareness, and then after that, once you're having the awareness, you have to have the training and the preparation. And let's start with this. So first of all, when I was trying to figure out my domain, and I've done it exactly as every other medical student in the world has done. Once we get into med school, we have the career pathway of thinking of only clinical based careers, but there are other options available. So one of the thing is, we can see that, for example, after graduation, people are realizing they can go as a GP, they can go for residency, they either go for USMLE or PLAB, and for clinical practices abroad. Other options are master's or PhD program. But these are all important routes, but they are not the only possible routes available. A non-clinical direction where healthcare knowledge still matters. This is where we are as a clinical researcher. And what this introduced to me was that how clinical trials and study operations work, okay? And then CROs, sponsors, sites, and investigators, ethics, patient safety, GCP documentation, etc., and the different kind of pharma companies that are related to this field of work. Now, many roles require experiences, including this one. This is one of the most important things that I found as a hurdle, as a challenge when trying to apply for this field. The problem was that everything was required at least 1 to 2 years of experience or some knowledge to an extent to know about to know what are, for example, CROs, what are what is a CTA, what is our CRC, what is a CRA, what is GCP, etc. Knowing these lingos was quite important, but unfortunately these lingos were not explained to us previously. We were not aware of what these lingos mean, and coming to apply to this field, it felt very difficult at the very beginning. But then slowly, one after the other, I started getting a little bit into understanding this field. I started going on Google, trying to understand what this field is all about, what is a CRA, how to become a CRA, how to become a principal investigator. And eventually, through a lot of networking, through a lot of connections, I ended up talking to Dr. Christina, for example. And through her, I got introduced into this field. And I started developing this career. And I realized that it is not just a field where you go in and then you see how you're going to do clinical research. It's not just documentation. It's an entire field where you will understand the importance of the drug developments. You will be the principal personnel trying to help develop these drugs before they go into the market. Now, the reason for this webinar is that we are trying to give you all the information so you can get ahead of your career. So what does it mean by getting ahead? In this case, we mean that understanding the field before you make a decision, because this is a career pathway. Don't get it wrong. This is not just a dead-end job. This is something that you would get into for the rest of your life. And we're talking about the next 10 years of your life. And knowing the basic roles in this industry. So how you can get to the basic roles and how you can develop and grow in this field. Learn how the internship works, how the trainee structures are, and prepare for realistic interviews that you would be having in the future. How you're going to be approaching the CROs to discuss with them about your qualifications, etc. So just to keep it short now at this point, the purpose is that we are trying to give you awareness and guidance. This is not to give you, and through us, you will understand the way the roles work. This is not to guarantee jobs or internships. We are giving you the guidelines, how you can actually move ahead in this career. And keep in mind that all of us here, including Dr. Christina and Miss Theodora, who's going to be coming in right after me, will be explaining how you can actually find the jobs in this domain. Keep in mind that this is a professional pathway, so you are not going to be paying any money for that. You would be actually going in to recruiters who will help you build your next interview. And this is where we're going to come in next with Dr. Theodora. This is part of my presentation. And just to understand, clinical research is not a shortcut. It is a serious professional field worth understanding. You will require your medical degree. You will require your medical experience. You will require your medical knowledge. But the difference is that you will have to build extra knowledge of GCP, of documentation, and to know exactly how this field works. This is all from me. Now I will be passing on the presentation to to Ms. Theodora, and from there we will proceed further. So, Theodora, please take the field is yours.
Thank you so much. That was a great introduction. It's really lovely to be here. I'm just going to go ahead and share my presentation. Hopefully, it will come up. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I guess my purpose here is kind of to help you understand how you can take advantage of your degree and what are the different avenues that you can take once you graduate. The way I've always kind of explained it to everybody is your degree is not a destination, but it is a passport, and it has the option of opening multiple doors to you. My name is Theodora Savlovski-Wicks. I'm originally from Romania, from Bucharest, but I have been living in London for the past 18 years. Vivexa Partners is a global recruitment company that I have founded last year after 15 years of recruiting solely within clinical recruitment at a global level. I have been involved in the placement of over 1,200 candidates in different locations all over the world. I have worked with clinical professionals, CROs, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology organizations, medtech startups, and global talent teams across multiple markets. The aim is to show you how your background in formal education can become the beginning of a global career. I am aware that there is an increasingly alarming amount of scams out there. And I just wanted to make the comment, as Tazim has mentioned it earlier as well, a legitimate life sciences recruitment company such as Vivexa Partners and many others out there will never ask you as a candidate for money in order to represent you for a currently open opportunity. So I would urge everybody to do their homework, to research who you're speaking with, to understand what is being asked of you, not to click on any links that aren't official links sent through official communication channels. Be vigilant is pretty much the key message. Now, when we talk about careers in clinical research, and obviously Dr. Christina touched on it earlier quite a bit, the clinical research ecosystem means that the work of testing new medicines to prove that they are safe and that they work. It isn't a single job, it is an entire industry. And around the edge are several families of jobs inside it. So, for example, we have site roles, who are the people based at the hospital or at the clinic, who are the closest to the patients. If you like people, you like being where the action is, the site roles would potentially be a great career avenue for you. Clinical operations is what I like to call the engine room. And it's where we find the people who run and monitor the trials, the clinical trial assistants or clinical trial coordinators, and the CRA. It is probably the biggest hiring area and where majority of life sciences graduates begin their careers within. Pharmacovigilance is drug safety. The whole job of the pharmacovigilance department is to watch for side effects and protect patients. If you're somebody who's quite detail driven, this could be a very good career opportunity for you. Regulatory affairs is the rules and paperwork that get the trial approved. And if you like structure and precision, this may be the right path for you. Data and statistics, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. They take the numbers the trial produces, they clean them, they make sense of them. It's ideal for somebody who prefers spreadsheets over small talk. Medical affairs and development is the science and the strategy side. The people who really understand the therapy deeply and who have great communication and stakeholder management when it comes to communication with senior doctors. You don't need to understand all of them right now, but you do need to understand the ecosystem of the drug development life cycle and the clinical research wider map to figure out where you fit in and what is best suited for you individually. To understand what type of role is best for you, it's a good idea to think about what type of work energizes you. Not every clinical research career will suit every personality, so it's important to take a step back and really think about where you want to be. There is a seat at the table for almost every type of personality. If you like people, there is a role for you. Perhaps if you're quite extroverted, the role of a CRA is better suited. If you're slightly more introverted, perhaps you're better suited to a data management or biostatistician type of role. The entry-level opportunity that you decide upon now and that you begin with is not where you will necessarily be stuck in for the next 30 to 40 years. You are choosing just the beginning. There are several routes into trial delivery. So the site roles are the ones that are closest to the patients and to the investigators. So you tend to start from roles as clinical research coordinator, and you can work your way up to a senior coordinator, to a site manager, to a site operational lead. On the CRA side, it tends to be the CTA, the clinical trial assistant or clinical project assistant, tends to be the entry-level position. And then from then on, most people tend to progress into CRA, and you tend to have several levels of CRAs that then can take your career into a clinical trial management, whether that is a clinical operations manager or a clinical trial manager or a CRA line manager, and then forward from that to a project manager and director and so on. The CRA role is something that you will hear about very, very often within the field. It is probably the most sought after type of role. It is the role that creates most volume when it comes to open job opportunities. And it also has the highest turnover in the industry, perhaps because of the level of travel. There are several types of monitors. You have in-house CRAs or in-house monitors, which tend to be office or home-based site support type of positions. field CRAs, which are the ones who physically go to the site and conduct the site visits, the actual monitoring of the study, who follow the protocol compliance, and who hold the investigator relationships, the relationships with the sites and hospitals. And then you have centralized monitors. Those are the individuals who do the remote data review, who follow the trends and the risk-based quality monitoring style oversight. You have, as I mentioned earlier, there is quite a lot of different ways to enter the industry. Not everyone wants to be on the road visiting site, and that's absolutely fine. So I provided everyone with a little bit of an example of what the other opportunities could be for entry-level positions. So we have pharmacovigilance, which is all about safety. You start by logging side effect reports, you grow into the person who spots patterns, who owns the safety picture for the entire drug. Regulatory affairs is about the rules, the approvals. You begin by preparing documents, tracking submissions. You move up to leading how a study gets approved across countries. Data and statistics is for the numbers, the number of people out there. You start by cleaning and checking trial data. You can grow all the way to biostatistician, who's the person who normally designs the analysis and tells everyone what the trial actually proved. Medical affairs is the science and communication route. You begin by answering medical questions, and you can become a medical science liaison, eventually talking to senior doctors or a medical director. The point is pretty simple. If traveling extensively is not for you, there are different well-paid careers that do not require travel. You just need to figure out what works best for you as an individual. When we look globally at the open opportunities out there, there are locations where there are more roles available, and there are locations that are currently emerging when it comes to where pharmaceuticals, biotechs, CROs tend to hire. Whether your first position is called a CTA or a clinical research coordinator, the goal could ultimately be the same. The most commonly filled entry roles are not always CRAs. So we tend to get, clinical research coordinators or CTAs that could then lead into data management, drug safety associates who can then lead to safety scientists, regulatory or study startup associates who could then lead to study startup leads, medical information officers who could then lead to medical science liaisons, programmers who could then lead to biostatistics. So there are different entry-level opportunities for pretty much every part of the ecosystem within the wider drug development process. Locations globally, which I've illustrated on the left side, obviously you have very high level opportunities to the emergent markets. The job title in itself is not as important as is the knowledge to build on in order to gain the exposure to the open opportunities. Don't get hung up on whether your first job is called a CTA or a coordinator or an associate or an assistant. Titles vary by company and country, and they change all the time. But what stays with you is the experience. If you can show clinical trial experience, GCP knowledge, some regulatory understanding, some drug safety exposure, very good stakeholder communication, you can move easily between companies, between roles, between countries. That is what will make your career international and intentional. Once you start adding skills and you understand how the ecosystem works, you will become more adept at identifying suitable opportunities. And on that, obviously, we'll be building later on throughout the courses that we offer. Companies that are worth following are some of the largest global CROs. So the CROs being the clinical research outsourcing organizations who tend to run the trials on behalf of the pharmaceutical companies. Some of the largest global CROs tend to be the best ones at graduate and internship opportunities. They do quite often provide graduate intakes at quite high levels and internship opportunities, which are quite often global roles. So some of the largest CROs will be companies such as IQVIA, Icon, Parexel, Fortrea, MedPay, Syneos Health, and Thermo Fisher, where PPD is the CRO arm. This is where most of the graduates tend to get their first jobs within clinical operations specifically, because these are the organizations with the highest hiring needs, and they will hire volume and they will train volume. The second group will be the pharmaceuticals and biotech sponsors, the companies that actually own the medicines and the trials themselves. So it's important once you decide to enter this industry to start recognizing these names, to understand what they do, follow them on LinkedIn, look at the graduate and early talent pages on their websites. Majority of them have very well explained graduate programs on their websites. And I did want to provide a brief illustration of pay and how the pay between clinical practice and clinical research is different. Now, obviously, this is for illustration purposes only. And it's just to kind of understand that in certain countries, clinical practice may pay higher, and in a lot of other countries, actually, clinical research tends to pay a lot higher, especially at the within the early years. Research pay is pretty competitive from the start, in some cases higher. The fastest route forward is sometimes sideways. So you don't necessarily need to go in a very linear way to build your career in clinical research. Your first job is not your last job. You can move sideways as well as upwards. I know plenty of people throughout the years who have started, let's say, as CTA, CRA, senior CRA to CTM. Once they got to CTM, they didn't necessarily move upwards to project management or director, but instead they relocated globally within their organization. And after about 3 to 5 years within a single organization, opportunities to move to different locations are more common than at entry level. And with that, I guess Christina will also be mentioning it later on. We will be running a career research accelerator day in collaboration with Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research, which will be, I believe, on the 12th of September 26. And some of the things that we'll be talking is to kind of learning how to map your career, learning more in-depth, understanding how to build your future, how to build your CV, how to template it, how to target different opportunities, how to optimize things like your LinkedIn presence, how to identify the right level of jobs or titles, how to look for the right employer, how to apply for the right position, and putting together a more structured plan in how to build your career within clinical research. And with that, I guess I will hand you over to Delia.
Thank you so much, Theodora. Well, now we'll be having Dr. Delia Kodruta.
Please turn off your microphone because it's an echo.
Someone's mic is echoing a lot.
Delia, you have your mic on.
I think I have a problem with my microphone. Hello. I don't know what happened. Did you hear me?
If there is a phone open, Kodruca, I think you have to.
I think it's Dr. Delia's microphone that's having the issue. Dr. Delia, could you get on a headphone or something? Then it would actually make the audio better.
It's better now?
No, it's still echoing a lot.
Yes, I know. I don't know why. what to do.
Do you have a headphone with you, Dr. Delia?
No, I don't have.
Good. I think you could reconnect back. Maybe it's a problem with your Zoom itself.
Yes.
Probably it's better if you could reconnect back.
Yes, reconnect again.
So in the meantime, we can also answer some questions that I can see that is on the chat right now. For this is a question for Theodora. What are the most common mistakes healthcare graduates can make when applying for clinical research jobs?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question? I didn't hear it very well.
So the question is, what are the most common mistakes healthcare graduates can make when applying for clinical research jobs?
I would probably say is not targeting the jobs that they go after, and not taking into consideration the skills that are needed. So, for example, if you apply for a CRA position, you will absolutely need GCP training. That's one of the examples, and it's not necessarily targeting appropriately and understanding what the skill set is and emphasizing on said skill set. I think the best thing to do is understand the strengths in your experience, in your CV, in your background, in your education, and learning how to identify that and learning how to focus on that when applying for the opportunities. I think a lot of life science graduates tend to apply for everything at once, and they don't necessarily keep track of where they have applied and how they have applied.
Besides that, I would also like to add to to Ms. Theodora's point that in regards to exactly what she said, this is a massive issue that we do have, that when we apply for our positions, we're not aware whether this is a position that is at a basic level or this is a position at an advanced level. Just because something is written in a basic manner, as Theodore has mentioned, that some positions are named differently in different countries, and that actually makes a confusion to understand whether this is a basic level position or whether this is an advanced level position, and this can actually affect how you make your applications. And there is another question. Do I need prior clinical experience to start a clinical research assistant, or is my MBBS medical background degree enough? Theodora, would you like to take that answer, please?
You don't, well, there are plenty of entry-level opportunities out there. You don't need the actual clinical trial experience. There are a lot of CTAs or CRCs or CTCs, for example, who move either from a clinical setting into the industry or just, or simply, life science graduates. What you do need is a good understanding of GCP. You need a good basis of understanding what the role needs. And a demonstrable level of knowledge within the industry overall. It's just a matter of understanding what is needed from you and knowing how to emphasize on that and knowing how to make parallels between your studies, your life experience to date, and how that actually translates into the position itself.
Next, there's another question. If I had less experience in case of research, but my CV is enriched with related experience and achievements, will that benefit me when I apply?
I will take that. Oh, yes, go ahead, Theodora.
Well, I was going to say, if it's relatable experience and if it's, translatable skills, absolutely. And I will encourage everybody to emphasize on those transferable skills, whether that is, people skills that you've earned from a previous type of role, whether there is coordination skills that you've earned from a previous type of role that doesn't necessarily need to be an industry level position, or whether there is just the clinical knowledge that you can then apply into a clinical operations position. Sorry, I will let you answer as well, Dr. Cristina.
No, it's okay. You cover all. I am just reading what it is in the chat box. But first, before answering to this, let's go back to Codruța to see if it's possible for her to do the presentation.
Hi again.
Oh,
Thank you
much
very
better.
much. It's better.
Yes, much
Yeah, it's
better.
much better.
I changed the place, Maybe this is the reason.
Okay, so thank
Great.
you very much
I
again,
share.
Codruța.
We will get back to the question answer session at the end of the webinar. In the meantime, we'll let Dr. Codruța have her time, and then we'll get back to it. So please be patient,
Okay,
guys.
I share again.
It is on the screen.
Okay, so you see it, yes?
Yes.
So my name is Delia Codruța Popa. Better Delia for you. It's simple. I'm associate professor of in pediatric department, and I teach laboratory medicine. Also, I'm a senior doctor in hematology laboratory in diagnosis. What I want to tell you today is about my career, my story, my life, and what means academic career for you. You are at the beginning of the path, so maybe you are interested in see what happened if you access this academic career. Why it's good to have an academic career? Because this career transform daily your clinical practice, because you are doctor and I am doctor, and this career will change your practice. So the for the better patient care, for your decision were better, you have a stronger professional voice. You'll become a key opinion leader in your area. So all the pharma company will come to you and ask you kindly to transfer the knowledge and to use the medicine in order to help your patient. But it's not simple, you know. Because this academic career must have three area. First, your clinical care. You must be a doctor in order to access this career. It is not mandatory. Also, a biologist, but you have to have contact with the patient. Also, you have to have a research area where to put to ask question, try to answer to this question, and also an educational part when you have to learn younger people, your colleague, from your knowledge. It is not separated, but this will highlight you as a professional doctor, a key opinion leader in your area. So a strong career integrates all these three areas. It's mandatory to have it. Your academic, you must have a niche. You must ask what clinical problem repeatedly see in your clinical practice. After that, what method or skill you must develop in order to master deeply. So after that, you have to know who benefits of if I solve this problem. A niche is not just a topic. It's an intersection between need, expertise, and impact. So all start with a question that you see in clinical practice: why a patient um, uh, is okay with a treatment, why another do not respond well with exactly the same treatment. This is the reason why I start to study immune system at patients that follow CAR-T therapy. Maybe you heard about this wonderful therapy for our patient, CAR-T therapy. So after this therapy, one patient responds very well, and another 50% of them relapse. It is the last therapy for patient with relapse refractory and patient after bone marrow transplantation. So when I check deeply in immune system, I see that restoration of endogenous immune system is very important, and lymphocytes CD8 are very important. So I answer to a question: why? This is the start of this academic career. Why? And after that, you make a study, you make a retrospective study a statistic, and you'll find for sure some answers, and you can share these answers with your colleague, with all in conference, in presentation, in also in articles. So my road was similar with yours. I was a student, a resident doctor. Then I start my PhD in virology. Then I start to be a young investigator in some studies. Then I became a lecturer, because after my PhD it was very simple to teach other uh, what I learned in my PhD in virology. So I start to teach virology at Carol Davila University first, then biochemistry, and now I'm teaching laboratory medicine and the different pathway of different pathology, and how I look at pathology from the laboratory side of view. Now I'm an associate professor, and also I work in the research area. You know, progress is rarely linear. You have some stops, but you have to think that you have to grow every year, step by step, and not very quickly, for sure. How you start this research, I told you earlier, from clinical observation. You ask question, now then you look at the study design. You'll read a lot of articles in order to inspire you how to design your study. Then it's very important the statistic, the analyze, and then the most important part is the publication and sharing the information, and in the top of that are the change in practice. What I change after I ask and I find the answer. I change something in my clinical practice. I help the clinician to help the patient to solve some problem. So in our clinical practice is very important, and we need to solve problems from our patient. My conclusion of that is a good question is narrow enough to answer and important enough to matter. So this is my conclusion. So it's very important, and all the times, all the questions matter for you and for your patient. How you find your research niche? It will be hard, for sure. You'll have different direction, but finally, with perseverance and daily clinical exposure to a specific pathology, you'll find a niche. For me, for example, was hematology. I start with virology and I switch in hematology area, in hemato-oncology. For example, I work in diagnosis of leukemia and lymphoma patient, and also in monitorization. So it is a niche because I work in flow cytometry and I follow the treatment of this patient, and I can tell exactly if the patient relapse or not by minimal residual disease and some specific marker from immunity. In daily practice, of course, I have question. Of course, I try to answer this question, and also I create a network, international network with some mentors. I found mentors in my area, and I asked question, and I came with my idea in order to improve the outcome of the patient. So after this niche will come the publication, for sure. You'll have the database, you'll find the methods, because this problem it will be solved with a specific method. After that, you'll see the results after you do the statistic, and also the discussion And finally, you submit the article. This is one of the practice. In October, if you want, we'll practice this, writing an article, and we try to publish. But I want to mention something. A rejection is not a stop for me, and also for you must be the same, because the review of an article and the reviewer's comments are very good to improve the articles. So don't stop if the first article will be rejected from the first submission. You must improve following the review comments, and it will be all okay after that. So professional writing is not like that. It's a workflow, not an inspirational event. Must be consistent, and you must have every week some brief report and some writing. How to publish your first paper? Start small, it's very good, and finish well. It's very important to find a mentor. And my first article was for sure from retrospective data. I define a clear question, I prepare the statistic table figure, and I write every week, even briefly. And as I say you earlier, reviewer comments are very good, are a roadmap. And you must take, you must not be disappointed if you have a rejection. One rejected manuscript can become a better paper. So I will try to teach you how to write an article. I will offer you some retrospective data, and we'll work on these Excels, and we try to have an article to publish. What is important also for you, and not be afraid to go to the conferences with one message, not more, because audience memory is limited for sure. So you have one message, some figure or one figure to prove it, one clinical interpretation, and what to do next with this idea. A strong oral presentation is a scientific argument that you ask question and try to answer to this question. And also, if you have question from auditorium, from your teacher, from your colleague, it's very good, because this question will move you to the next step to improve your research. How to build your international collaboration? Just share clinical question with other from abroad, with other mentor. Try to ask for common protocol. Try to ask them how they can help you to improve your work at home. And also send results after that. Propose a joint, an abstract, a paper, came with something positive in order to graduate that they help you. So first, you must identify what question, what is your niche, in what area you want to improve, identify a lab, a mentor, define what skills you need. After that, focus and write a very good request in order to receive you there, prepare your funding, and after that, go there and learn and come with positive results, and keep the relationship alive with this hospital and with this mentor. With a grant, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Because every grant should answer, what is the problem? Why I offer money for this problem? Why now? It is so important now. This team is relevant for this problem. This team will solve this problem. problem, what will change if the project succeeds? This will have an impact on the patient outcome or not. So this grant writing needs more care and must be clear, credible, and relevant. After you start an academic career, you'll run for publication, for citation, grants, and all this stuff. But a mature career, an academic career, is also measured by mentorship. You have to become a mentor for other people. Also is measured by diagnostic quality, patient outcomes, and institutional capacity. All this matter, and it is important for you to feel useful in your institution and a very good doctor. What is it with the teaching? It is okay, it is hard, it is easy to teach. You'll see after you'll start to teach your colleague, for example. You start to look for information, to collect feedback after that, to improve materials, and also to talk all the time with the mentor in order to improve the way you teach. So it is mandatory also to have a teaching path if you choose an academic career. And these exercises with conference are very, very good. As a plan for your development in 20-month structure, I put here 5 steps. First, I try to publish something, to submit an article. Maybe it will be accepted, but you'll work hard in order to be accepted. After that, it's very important to go to conferences with 1 or 2 presentations to see if you can share the information, if you made understood by other people. Collaborate with different hospitals, with different colleagues, make a network. Learn every day. One new method, go to the lecture, to the conferences, because all the times you have to learn. Also, it's very important to look for a mentor. And also to become mentor for other people younger than you. Make progress visible each year. 10 lessons, very important, that I wish I knew at 25. And now I can tell you that a career is built by repeated small decisions made before they look important. I'm not ready. I wasn't ready for academic career, but I started after my PhD. So start before you feel ready. Choose mentors. I underline this. Learn to do statistics by yourself. Protect your writing time every week. Say yes, even if it's hard and you are too busy. If a colleague or another person from your lab asks you to do something, say yes, because for sure this yes will come with a positive outcome also for you. Document everything. Not take for granted. Ask why I do that. And after that, search why you do that. Collaborate is very important. Present at conference early. Even if you are not prepared, go and present in order to see if you are understood by others. Learn that rejection of one article is normal. So try not to be disappointed. And also, after you see your clinical practice and question, build a niche with patience, because will come in years of hard working. As I told you, I see in hematology that it's very important to monitor the patient after the treatment. After we diagnose the patient with leukemia, we monitor the treatment. Also, we monitor CAR-T therapy. Also, we check for stem cells. So this is my niche. So I try, after I found my niche, I standardize the method, flow cytometry. And after that, I work and I present and I write in this area. So I try to generate for my clinician meaningful biomarkers for precision hematology for their clinical practice. So the question is for you. Try to answer by yourself. Will you only practice medicine, or will you help create the medicine of the future? For sure, a successful academic career is not measured by publication and citation, but the number of people whose lives, careers, and health outcomes improve because of your work. So you have to have curiosity, persistent collaboration, and make study with clinical impact. If you do that, you'll be the next partner for Avantyo Institute of Clinical Research. You'll become a key opinion leader in your area, and you can help patient and your colleague for better understand and also improve the health outcomes of all the patients that you treat. So it's important to have all this area and to maintain curiosity for that. In my lecture, I want you to write an article with me. I want you to review literature in order to write this article. And maybe you will publish your first article together. This will be an important point in your career because you like it for sure. This is the reason why I have to talk also with Cristina Flores, with Cristina about the date in October, because I need a month between the first date and the second date with the students in order to have time to work together to write the article. So it's not enough one day. And the last question for you is also, what is one action you can take this year that your future self will thank you for 10 years from now? So try to ask, to think, and I thank you and I wish you good luck. And sorry for my microphone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kodruta. It was a really good presentation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and everyone here appreciates it. Does anyone have any specific questions for Dr. Kodruta to begin with, first of all?
Tazim,
Yes.
I would like to suggest that because we are run of the time and we should move further in order to come to a conclusion, and also we can take this at the end, the questions, if there are any for Kodruta, and also the questions from the chat section.
Yes. Sure.
Thank you very much, Kodruta, for your presentation. Thank you, Teodora, and thank you, Tazim. So I think we had the opportunity to see from this different perspective, actually, the idea. Kodruta, can you switch off the share, please? So the idea of preparing this webinar was to give you an insight from different perspectives. So the perspective of how to build an academic career, because the one who would work as a physician or as a pharmacist at the clinical site in a hospital or on a site as a site staff would definitely need this type of career formation about Kodruta was speaking. If you would like to enter much more on operational level as a CTA, as a monitor, as maybe in the regulatory part, I've seen some questions in this regard and some comments. So yes, you can enter in the operational field, and you have to develop your skills. But most of all, you have to get the knowledge. You have to have the knowledge needed for this domain. So let me share you shortly the last slides, because what we actually prepared for you was to and would like to promote is to be aware about these 5 courses, 5 trainings. You have seen on my presentation the portfolio with different type of training we prepare, from entry level to advanced and postgraduate. But we were, all of us discussed, and we were considering to propose you these 5 courses which are on the entry level. Anyone who would like to make a step in a clinical research career should be aware about what it is, a clinical trial, what are the actors, what should I know, me coming from medicine, or coming from pharmacy, or coming from other life science graduate faculties, where the clinical trials for sure were not discussed, or even it was discussed just at superficial level. So what should I know first? Also, I mentioned, and I would like to emphasize the fact that ICH GCP training is something absolutely mandatory to be done, and the certificate to get acquired. So every time, on every 2 years, you have to renew this certification, because extremely fast the changes in the regulation are happen, and even from one revision to another, you have to always to be updated. That's why it is a continuous learning process, and you have to get a new certificate on GCP, ICH GCP. We have prepared also, as Theodora says, clinical research career accelerator for life science graduates for all of you, where actually Theodora will introduce you in this preparation mode, how you will prepare yourself for getting attention from the potential recruiters. Clinical trials for study coordinators. So the first step, even if you have experience, someone said that she or he has 20 years of experience in pharmaceutical field, and how can move forward and enter in the clinical research field. This experience is extremely good for doing this, but you have to start again with the first step, as a study coordinator, or even as an in-house CRA, or in CRA at the beginning, at the first level. But you have to acknowledge that you need much more training in this respect. And also, as Codruța mentioned, the building academic career. So on 4th of August, we will provide for you this clinical trial fundamentals for life science graduates, where we will touch the GCP, the classification of clinical trials, roles in clinical trials, actors, study responsibility, and so forth. And 4th of September, Dr. Cătălina Sârbu will have an ICH GCP entry-level training with all the principle of ICH GCP, with all information regarding the source data, pharmacovigilance, drug handling, and so on. So Theodora will come on 15th and 16th of September, 2 days training on how to build the career, but more than this, how to build a competitive CV, your social media profile, to be attractive for any recruiter. Codruța on 8th and 9th of October. So with the clinical, how actually you can build the academic medical medicine career, and how you can review the scientific literature, how you can write an article, and so on. Dr. Goran Vesov, clinical trials for study coordinators in September 15th and 16th. So includes research phases, site staff responsibilities, how to manage the medicinal products and devices. And for you, because you participated today to this webinar, we have this outstanding discount. So for those of you interested in register to this courses, one or two, or it's up to you how you will decide or which one to select. The training cost, usual training cost of Avantyo for this type of programs is 250 euros. But for those of you who are with us today and decide to register, we provide you for 24 hours of flash registration of 100% off. So you can register with only 100 euro. It is a unique opportunity because we will not repeat this free webinar. Also, for those who cannot do this in 24 hours from now on, we allow for 1 week time 40% discount for a registration. So you can buy any of these trainings with 150 euros just by submitting your application, entering on our website, where you will find each of these trainings, each of these courses. And from 20th of June, you can acquire with a normal price. So I think this is really an opportunity you have to take into account and not to miss. The contact details are also here, and we can provide you the presentation of all the speakers today. And because I do not want to close the session without giving several answers for the questions we received in the chat, there was someone who was asking about how can get more experience and certificate that related to GCP. I think you have the answer in this last slide. Also, I have answered to the Mihaelas, who has the 20 years of experience and would like to start something in clinical research. And what I would like to add is that more pharmacists, actually, not young graduates, but pharmacists with experience, decides for their career that they do not want to work anymore in a pharmacy and they would like to make a shift. So clinical research is extremely good for pharmacists. Why? Because they are very well the persons who would like to keep everything in order, and this type of skill, it's extremely beneficial and helpful for anyone who would like, for instance, in the regulatory or for in the QA. So also as a monitor, because you manipulate a lot of documents and you have to make the connection between the clinic part with the clinical research documents. Also, someone asked about possibilities to coming or hiring as a research beginners from South Asia. What I can say is that in India is a very effervescent and dynamic field, but do not forget about Europe, where the legislation is extremely good and proper for developing clinical trials. Why? Because we have now everything harmonized in CTIS, as I mentioned, and by the European directive. So to get approval in Europe in any of the countries now, you do not have to pass through all the national legislation. I am referring to EU member states. So you do not have to wait for getting approval for each of the national drug agency for the study. That was in the past. Now in less than 60 days, any pharmaceutical company can get approval for their trials. So focus on Central Eastern European, because it is wide open for beginners. And also what I can tell you, it is that Australia becomes more and more attractive. They do not have so complicated regulators orders or regulation. So they are, let's say, a country and where the clinical trials are developing in very much speed. So there is another question from someone asking about how to start getting knowledge, or how to start with an application for Recently enrolled for epidemiology program. The lady said, or additionally, I'm currently learning data analysis and how can I utilize this? I think Theodora and myself already explained that. I think you have to take the opportunity to get more knowledge, because this is the key. Actually, this is the key, to be prepared theoretically and ready to put this into a practice. So there are internship programs. Avantyo is also discussing with the pharmaceutical company to get this type of internship for their graduates of the training programs, where you can even go and see how a day is it as a monitor would is it developing, or what does it mean to to prepare for an audit, prepare yourself as a future monitor. So if there are some other questions, I think we will have and can answer them. But please use this opportunity and get, as Kodrica said, get the answer to this. What I can do today in order to thank in the for future 10 years. So. Shahinur Nahar is asking us what is the fee. So we have already put the fees of this discount, because usually we have this training cost of 250 per each course. Now you can get it with less, either with 100 euro or 150. So Tazim, you have if you have something to add, or we can conclude.
There
I
are
will
more questions.
is there any more questions that is available before we so where are the possible internship opportunities located? Okay, so I will try to help Fabia for this answer. So as mentioned, this a lot of these positions are, as you will depending on the positions that you would be applying for, you could have some that would be remote based, some of them would be available on location, on site, depending on the study and depending on the position that you'd get hired for. And as we will be going after this webinar, as Dr. Christina said, there will be some trainings that will be open for the public. You could start off with your trainings one by one, and eventually we will start linking you and we will help you get the guidance to getting to these opportunities, like, for example, the internships, the basic level positions, so that you could start building your career in this domain as soon as possible. Just as for me, for example, as I said in my presentation, when I began it, I had a similar issue with this to understand what would be the safe route to start from. And starting off with an internship was the ideal option, and eventually once I found out the different training courses and everything, it made the transition into the domain a lot more easier. Mihaela said to register for the courses with the discount, can you please send us the links? For Mihaela's answer.
Sorry, do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
So each of the slides presenting the details about any of these introductory courses has a registration link on the bottom. So, but it is only needed to enter on the Avantyo website. We will let in here. Please, Tazim or Diana, please help us with putting the links here on the chat section. So you can enter on the Avantyo website and you will find all these trainings with their registration link. So you can enter yourself on each of them, and you can see details and information, and also to register using this opportunity. 24 hours 60% discount, or 1 week 40% discount. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak about how to build a career in clinical research. And I think it was interesting. I hope we delivered the useful information for you. And also we are open and we can provide you with the slides of presentations for today. For those who participated, please let us know, and we can come back to you with them. And also, I hope we will meet you again starting with August to these trainings. And you will find more details, more information, because we will have 1 or 2 days training for each of the topics. So I am looking forward to meet you again. Also, I am sure that my colleagues are eager to start sharing the information, useful information for you. And here you have also the contact details. You can contact us directly. Diana is on the marketing and communication, Tazim as well. And also, I think Dr. Riasat will help you in providing the contact details for us. So thank you very much for your time, Tazim.
Before we end, for all the people that has registered from Bangladesh, who has joined us from Bangladesh, please keep an eye out on the platform group on Facebook, and we will be posting the updates from this webinar in regards to the upcoming courses and everything. And those of you who have any questions or any kind of queries, I'm very happy to answer those questions and queries accordingly. Please do not hesitate to leave any questions, whatever you have. For the time being, I can see that we've answered all the questions on the chat, but from next, we will be definitely coming back to the groups to answer the rest of the questions.
So thank you very much. And I hope we will see you soon.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Have a great weekend.
Goodbye. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you very much, all.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
O să închidem pentru toată persoana.
Pot să închid eu tot, dacă vrei.
Nu, eu am închid. Cum vrei.
Deci, leave the meeting, da?
Leave the meeting sau închidem pentru toată persoana?
Leave the meeting și apoi să închide la toi.
Ok, pa.
Pa.